on, family? Welcome to the Moment of Clarity, Lessons in Leadership. I'm Dr. Williams, and today we're talking about 5 people that you can't help. 5 people that you just can't help. And I want you to look at this from 2 different perspectives. The first is there are people that you lead every day, whether or not it's in your family, maybe it's on your job, maybe it's in your organization. There are some people that you just can't help, and you got to recognize who those people are, right? But the other perspective is this: maybe you are one of these people that you can't help. Because oftentimes as leaders, we spend so much time. If you're a servant leader, you're spending so much time giving your time, your talent, and your energy to so many people. And until you recognize the people that you're called to, the people you're called to help, the people that you're called to lead, the people that you have to steward, then you'll use too much of your energy on people that you can't help. So for the next few minutes, we're not going to be on long. For the next few minutes, I want to talk to you about 5 people that you can't help. Listen, some people just don't want help. They just want excuses. They're comfortable making excuses. And whenever you run into people that are comfortable making excuses, they play this victim mentality and they never want to grow. They never want to get better. They never want to lead. They never want to develop. People who enjoy making excuses are people who are not willing to grow and develop. And oftentimes we lead a lot of people like that because we lead a lot of people who have been traumatized by whatever has happened. And they can oftentimes play the victim role and mentality. Listen, you can't push anyone up the ladder they are unwilling to climb. John C. Maxwell says that. You can't push anyone up a ladder they're unwilling to climb. And so our role and our responsibility as leaders, if we're going to steward people well, is we got to get them interested in climbing that ladder. We've got to show them the potential that they have in themselves that they may not have seen, they may not have known about, in order to get them interested in climbing that ladder. See, leadership is twofold, and often we focus on the leader only. But leadership is twofold. A leader gives opportunity, but effort must come from the individual. Let me say that again. A leader gives opportunity, but effort must come from the individual. And so often we spend so much time trying to fine-tune our leadership intangibles as leaders, but we don't spend enough time learning how to fine-tune the art of building relationships so that people will want to give the effort that we need them to give in order for them to grow. Because after all, if they grow, then we grow. Then our organization gets better. Then our family gets better, right? Because people have to want to be led. And that's a difficult reality. People have to want to be led if you're going to maximize the talent, and that takes balance from a leader. So let's jump into 5 people that you just can't help. And maybe you're one of these people, or maybe you lead some of these people. 5 people that you just can't help. Here's the first person that you can't help: people who don't think they need it. Listen, there's an art of receiving help. There's an art of receiving things, right? And you can't pour into people who refuse to hold a cup. Let me say that again. You can't pour into people who refuse to hold the cup. And so the people who don't think they need the help are also people who refuse to grow. And so the first type of person that you can't help is the person that does not recognize that they need it. Maybe they've been doing it so long. Maybe they're so comfortable in what they're doing. Maybe they've never seen another way. I run into these people a lot of times, especially in the school system, people who have only worked in one school or only worked in one district, and they've only seen it from one perspective. See, those are people oftentimes that you're going to have to spend so much energy trying to convince them to understand that they need the help, that you're going to lose energy in working with the people who already know it. And so the first type of person that you can't help is the person who doesn't think they need it. Listen, the second type of person that you can't help is people who know they need it, but they don't want it. Yeah, people who know they need the help, but they don't want it. See, knowledge is not enough. Change requires action. Let me say that again. Knowledge is not enough. Change requires action. And so if you're leading people, if you're trying to steward people well, it's not enough just to have knowledge. You have to also know that in order for me to change, I got to do something. And that's what we call wisdom, right? Wisdom, not knowledge is just knowing what to do. Wisdom is knowing when and how to do it. And so people who know they need the help, but they don't want the help, are people that you can't help until they come to a revelation and recognize that they need to change and that change requires action. Holmes says this: is always room to grow. No matter how much experience you have, you got to want to grow. I love this. Appreciate you. All right. So the first type of person is people who don't think they need it. The second type of person is people who know they need it, but they don't want it. And we all know somebody like that, right? It's the third. People don't want it yet. See, these people are procrastinators. They're procrastinators. They think they always have another day. I always have another year. I always got another month. I'll always go to that training later. I'll do that professional development next year. I've got time. Procrastination is one of the enemies of growth. Procrastination. Good leaders lead with urgency. Even when everything is going well, good leaders lead with urgency. And so whatever capacity you're leading in, you always lead with urgency because tomorrow isn't promised to you. The opportunity to steward the moment is what makes you legendary. You know, we remember the Tom Brady's, the Cam Newtons, the Michael Jordans, not just because of the statistics that they put together, but they always seem to steward the moment well. And if you are a leader, you can't procrastinate. You have to become a master steward of each moment. Because when you don't, you hold other people back. The third person you can't help is a person who doesn't want it yet, because they always feel like they'll have another opportunity. Two more. Listen, the fourth person you can't help are people who know they need it, but they don't want it from you. People who know they need it, but they don't want it from you. I was coaching a colleague, and he went from a school level position into a district level position. And we were talking one day, and we talked pretty frequently. And he called and he said this. He said, "Listen, I got two questions for you." He said, "First, are leaders born or are leaders made?" And that one I thought was pretty easy. And I said, "No, man, leaders are made. Leaders are shaped through their experiences. You can be born into a leadership position, but holding a leadership position doesn't make you a leader. Let me say that again. Holding a leadership position doesn't make you a leader. And so we know just from historical things that people were princes when they were born. They were kings when they were born because they were born into what we call the caste system, right? And some people get promoted into leadership positions. But the sad part about it is some of them are not leaders. Because leadership involves more of how we steward people than it does anything else. And if you want to see the character or the excellence of a leader, watch how they treat people. And so I told him I think leaders are made. I don't think leaders are born. And then he asked the second question that goes right to this point. He said, Doc, can everybody be led? And that's the one that stumped me for a few seconds. I thought about it and I said, you know what, man? Everybody can be led, but everybody can't be led by you. See, that fourth person is people who know they need it, but they don't want it from you. And so sometimes you have to recognize when a person is not assigned to you. You're not assigned to lead every person. And that's why you have to have a team around you. That's why you have to delegate things. That's why you have to put people in positions to be led, even if they can't be led by you. You ever notice, like when you watch sports or you maybe you have a child that plays sports, that your child gravitates more to one coach over another coach? Because everybody can't be led by everyone else. And so if you're going to use your energy as a leader the right way, then you have to be discerning enough to understand who you are assigned to. You have to be discerning enough to know who am I assigned to in this particular season of my leadership capacity. You're not assigned to everyone in every season. Holmes says this: is everyone with a leadership role a good leader? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Now, I do think in a lot of cases, people are put in leadership roles because they may have some intangibles or someone sees something in them that we don't yet see. But that's why I think it is critical for us to embrace development. Because oftentimes we put people in roles too quickly without the development they need to be successful. And you can be in a leadership role and not be a good leader yet. But if you are willing to develop your leadership, you can become a good leader. But the way I look at leadership is different than most people, I believe, because I believe I'm responsible for stewarding people. And so if I'm going to be held responsible, don't put me in a role that I'm not ready for. Because I'm stewarding people. I'm stewarding lives. Not stewarding things only. I'm stewarding people. And so the fourth type of person is people who know they need it, but they don't want it from you. Know who you're assigned to. And here it is, the last person that you can't help are people who are unwilling to change. Talked about that a little bit at the beginning. People who are unwilling to change. No growth, no development, no production happens absent of change. And not everyone wants change. Listen, people who are unwilling to change are people that you can't help in that particular season. Understand that. These are not people who can never be helped. These are people who can't be helped in this season. People who don't want to change. That's right, Ms. Gaither. They are so exhausting. and here's why they are so exhausting. It's really not them. It's because we keep giving so much energy to them when we don't recognize that in this season, They're not willing to change. And I like in my district, we have a new superintendent, and he said something that I thought was amazing. Um, I think he's on the right track. He said this. He said these are the 18 principles. He was talking to the leadership teams. He said these are the 18 principles we're going to abide by. And he said, I can't fire you for not abiding by it, but I'm going to make this atmosphere conducive to these principles, so much so that if you don't abide by them, you're not going to want to be here. People who are unwilling to change, you either need to coach them out, or you create an atmosphere that makes them so uncomfortable that they need to go somewhere else. And sometimes you just have to make them uncomfortable in a good way, so that they find somewhere that fits their lack of change and their lack of growth. Because around here, we're growing. Listen, 5 people that you can't help. And sometimes these people in your family, right? Sometimes these are not just people you work with or you serve. These are people that are in your family. Listen, I see a comment. Let me address this before we close. Holmes says this: that's what I'm trying to figure out about myself, how to change to be a better leader. Listen, the first thing that I believe you have to do in order to be a better leader, the first skill set that you have to work on is communication. Communication is a meta skill. So you communicate better, you do everything else better. Everything becomes better when you learn to communicate better. And in leadership, you can't eat an elephant all at once. You take one skill, one principle, and you work on it, and you work on it until you get comfortable with it. Then you find another one and you work on it. But you start with communication. How well do you communicate with the people that follow you? Written communication, verbal communication, body language. How do you respond in crisis? Those things are some of the first things I think you develop. Then you go on to vision. How do you get people to follow you? How do you communicate with them? And then how do you get them to follow you? Because after all, if they're not following you, are you really a leader? And so as a leader, you don't get these things overnight. You get them through experience. You get them through studying. You get them through having to go through situations that require the best leader in you to come out. And you have to self-reflect daily. What decision did I make that I could have done better at? I do that every day. Sometimes before I leave work, I sit in my office for a few minutes. I just think, could I have done this better today? How do I improve in this area? Always have to be self-reflected. Always have to be self-reflected. Okay. And you have to be willing to not do that. Not shut down. Can't shut down. Leaders can't shut down. Not in front of the followers. Right? But that communication is a critical part, because the other thing is this: as a leader, you have to develop what works for you, but you have to also know what type of leader would I follow. And then you start crafting your personality to fit that mold. So maybe you've been led by some great people. You think about those people and you pull qualities from those people and you make them fit your personality. And then you slowly become what you look up to. Right? And so for me, there are plenty of leaders that I've worked for, not just people I've worked for, but leaders that I study, that I read. John C. Maxwell, Darius Daniels. Just different people in different areas of life that I read and I study upon, and I take qualities from each one of them and I start learning how to fine tune it and apply it in my circle. And when you do that, you become better. And the goal is to just be 1% better every day in any particular area. All right. Maybe I got frustrated yesterday. This is going to happen again next week, later in the month, or tomorrow. The next time it happens, I'm going to be ready for it. This is how I'm going to respond. Another part of that is, and I'm about to jump off of here, but another part of that is understanding too that leaders don't have to always be swift to respond. Now, there are times you have to be, but just understanding and knowing how to process, how to stay in character is critical to your growth. And the fact that you're asking questions about how to grow means you're already on the right path. It's G, 1% better. That's it. That's in a book called Atomic Habits. He talks about just getting 1% better every day. It's called Atomic Habits. All right. So the 5 types of people that you can't help. Maybe you're in one of these categories. Maybe your spouse is in one of these categories. Maybe the people you lead at work are in one of these categories. People who don't think they need it. People who know they need it, but they don't want it. And that's powerful. You can know it, but not want to do what it takes to change. We all have some areas of our life like that. You know you need to be a better father. You know you need to be a better mother, but you just don't want to do what it takes to change. The third type of person is people who don't want it yet. People who procrastinate. People who know they need it, but they don't want it from you. You got to know who you're assigned to. And the last one is people who are unwilling to change. Those are the 5 types of people that you can't help. And when you understand relational intelligence, where to place those people in your life, where to place those people in your leadership capacity, who to assign to those people that you're not assigned to in this season, then the stress is relieved from you and you can give your energy in the best places and not in every place. That's powerful. You give your energy in the best places, not every place. And that's you don't ever want to become a micromanager. You want to give your energy in the places where you're going to see the most production in your leadership. Listen, leave me a comment below, whether or not you're on YouTube or Facebook. Share this with as many people as you can. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube. And remember, if no one's following you, you're just walking. Until next time.